Hello and welcome back to Unreal Engine 5 Blueprint Mastery, Door Systems and Interactive Portals. Previously, we almost finished with our physics door. It seems I forgot to add the sounds. Let's open the physics door, and it was a nice opportunity to show another collision event. This time, because this door doesn't really overlap with the player, it blocks the player, we will use the on-component hit. So I'm getting on-component hit from this door, and I'm getting the on-component hit from the other door, and we're just gonna play sound and connect both to display sound. And for the sound, we're gonna use the physics door Q. And we're gonna play with the pitch again. We're gonna do a random float in range. And it's gonna be from 0.8 to 1. And now we have an awful sound because it hits too many times. So my guess is that this sound needs some concurrency settings. What are concurrency settings? They're over here. It's a setting that controls how many instances of the sound can play simultaneously and allows us to limit or manage overlapping sounds. Also, when a sound can start and stop, and there is a lot of settings to toy with in there, but our main use would be that. So I'm going to go to the folder sounds and I'm going to create. It seems we have already created them, so here it is, physics door conch, which has some settings already preset for us. Max count, how many times it should play, retrigger time when it should play again, limit to owner, limit to owner. This means the blueprint that is playing it, basically. So if you had two blueprints, they don't seem to, this max count of one wouldn't be the same. They would play twice the sounds. Yeah, there's a lot of settings in here. That's what we will be using. So if I add this over here, right now, yep, the sound is much better. Now, another thing that I noticed is that I really never explained and never kind of used the rotation component of the items. It does work, but if we play and show collisions, you'll notice that the collision is also moving around, which right now it's not a big problem, but if we had many of these, it would create a huge frame lag. What we will do is we will enter the item blueprint and go to the construction script and get this rotating movement that it is. Let's explain it since we didn't. It is a component that makes the actor rotate. It makes the actor rotate based on the rules and the settings that we input in here. By default, it's rotating in local space and 180 degrees. Now, there is a way to make this to be responsible for a certain component and not the whole actor. And that node would be set updated component. So we're going to connect both of these here, and we're going to connect the static mesh over here. Actually, we just can copy paste it. So this rotating movement will now only rotate the static mesh component and not the rest of the actor. So if we go and play and eject, we can see that it didn't work. Got a live testing. It's just amazing. Where is the item? Here is the item. Set updated component, static mesh. Oh, I think it's because I connected it to the construction script. it should be on begin play. Let's refresh. Yep. So you can see the triangle only moves. Yeah. So updated component doesn't really work on construction script because it needs the game to run to do something. So since in the construction script the game is not running, so the update component doesn't really do anything. So this is why we needed to bring it to begin play instead of construction script, because this is inactive, it's on the editor. We can see it doesn't rotate. Anyway, let's continue. We are going to duplicate the blueprint for the teleporter. And let's call this level changer. And let's bring it over here. And from what you're guessing, it pretty much has the same setup. We need the same setup because we're going to be porting in and porting out. So we do need all this functionality. Now, before we start programming this, let's just also create a simple widget with an animation. We're going to go to right click in the widget folder and go create a widget blueprint and user widget. I'm gonna name it would you fade, because when we are entering and leaving the world we should be fading in and out so it doesn't look bad. We're gonna add a canvas and we're gonna add an image. We're gonna anchor the image to be full screen and zero out the offsets. And the color should be black. Now, how do I make animations? There is a tab over here when I'm inside the widget blueprint. If I'm not, the tab is not here anymore, as you can see. But inside the widget blueprint, a new tab appears here, which is called animations. Let's add a new animation. Let's call this fade animation. Let's call it my fade animation. It shouldn't come with spaces. My fade animation, and let's double click to enter it. Here we have the tab with all the animations. And here, when we select an animation, we have the settings to use it. From the settings, we are going to select the add button and add image, because I have the image selected. If you do not have the image selected, then you need to select it basically, and then press add. And for this image, here we have our animation track that we will use at 0.5, so 0 to 0.5, maybe that's enough of an animation. We're gonna add a new track to this image, and it's gonna be of color and opacity. Actually, let's just do render opacity. Why complicate things? Now, it starts as a default with 1, where we want it to be 0, and in 0.5 seconds, we want it to be 1. So from 0 to 1. And that concludes our animation. Let's compile and save. And let's close the fade widget. We won't need it yet. Let's actually close the items and the physics store and the character and the key door and the teleporter. And let's open the level changer. Since we're going to be changing level, we do not need the teleport anymore. We don't need the location of the other actor, but we do need to create this widget as we did in the begin play of the game, in the game mode. Let's open it to show. we created the widget, and then later on we decided when to add it to the viewport or when to remove it from the viewport. Now we want to just create it. Owning player should be the player controller, and the class should be fade. And we will add to viewport instantly. The only problem is we actually need to open this again. So I'm going to open the widget and I'm going to search for opacity, render opacity, and set the default value to 0. Because if I let it to be 1 as it was, then the moment I add it, even if the animation is not, even if the animation plays right afterwards, then I would see a black screen and then I would see the fade. So it would be not the desired effect. Now, let's play the fade animation. How we're gonna do that? We're gonna call from this widget the fade, get my fade animation, and from that we're gonna play animation. Now, using this animation, we're gonna do a get end time, and we're gonna add a few seconds to it. Like, let's add 1 second to it. Maybe 1 is a lot, maybe 0.5. And we're gonna do a delay node and connect this. So whatever happens after the animation of the fade has ended. Now connect the sound, and we're gonna open level by name, and the name, it should be the name of the next level. Tutorial map 2, it should be exactly copy paste here or typed, but it must match exactly. Now we do need to connect the widget to the target because it's playing an animation. Okay, it's playing this animation, but who is it playing the animation? Compile and save. Let's go test what we created. It won't really work completely. Let's play. And as you noticed, okay, of course, first of all, we don't have a spawn, we don't have a player, but the sound didn't really play. The reason is that we are just playing a 2D sound like we normally do, and this is not enough for this situation. Because we are changing level, this entity, this play sound, only exists in this level. The moment we try to open another one, then a procedure starts that is destroying the things in this level. How can we play a sound that we will be persisting through levels? What we need to do is spawn sound 2D, which, as you can see, has a bigger tooltip over here. This function allows users to create audio components with settings specially for non-spatialized, non-distance. Anyway, it has a bunch of other rules. But what we care for is if we open this, it has a persist across level transition. So I'm going to click this, and I'm going to use the teleport sound. I'm going to use the teleport VR one. I really like that one. But this sound will not play instantly. It is just spawned. It doesn't mean that it will play. We brought it into the world, but nothing else happened. To do this, we're just gonna, from the return value, this is an important part, that it has a return value, as play sound 2D doesn't have a return value. This gives us an entity to manipulate, to promote a variable, and do things with it. But what we want to do right now is just play. And then we connect the open level. And now if we try to play, we have a sound playing. but to be honest, the sound should be playing before the delay. And then we open the level. All right. Now, we won't be using this node actually. We won't be using just an open level node. We will be creating a system that when you enter from a point A, the system knows that it leads to point B, and from point B it goes to point C, and maybe we will have a system to tell to the game that if I teleported from here, I'm teleporting back there. Maybe we will explain it better in the next one, because I think this is a nice stopping point for this one. Goodbye for now.